Recording in progress.
Hello, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Hi, Gail. Nice to see you. Hi, Holly.
Hello.
Where are you guys from? Well, let's see, Gail, you're muted.
I'm in Pasco, Washington.
Wonderful. What organization do you help out with?
So I'm with Tri-Cities Adventist School. I am also part of the whole Seventh-day Adventist school system.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining today. It's great.
I'm from Tacoma, Washington, and I help out with the Just Serve for Lakewood Steak.
Wonderful, Holly. Great. Thank you for being here today. Hi, Amy. How are you today?
Hi there, I am great. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Where are you from, and what organization do you help out with?
Yes, so I am from the Tri-Cities of Washington area. I am with Lutheran Community Services, and we often work alongside the Just Serve and some of the stakes here locally.
Wonderful. Thank you. So glad you came.
Thank you.
Starting to get more people joining. Hi, Kathy. Welcome. While you guys are waiting, if you wanted to put in your name and well, I'll ask everybody to do this in a minute, so you don't need to do it right now, but in the chat, if you'll put in your name, where you're from, and your organization, that will just help us to keep tabs of who came today. And we have to, because we're working with, this is hosted by Just Serve, but it's really all done with Youth Service America. I just get to be the helper. So Youth Service America is in charge of this, and they're wanting to see what communities we're reaching out to, or what voices are being heard. So I'll talk to you everybody. Perfect. Thank you. Thanks for taking the time on a busy Sunday. I know that there's always calls for time, so thank you for everybody for coming. Welcome, Amy. Welcome, Brian. Welcome, Georgia and Dave. So glad you're here. You guys are all very timely. Thank you. Move so the sun's not in my face. I had told those that came in a few minutes earlier, and I will say again, oh, it looks like I'm having an extra visitor here. My husband's come to join.
Can I hop on or do you?
Just go to the same Zoom.
Oh.
Yep. Husband's coming to help. Okay, we'll wait a few more minutes. Anybody have any great things that they did with Martin Luther King Day, or the organization they helped with? We're glad Scott from Youth Service America is here. Wonderful. My husband CJ is popped in, and we're just waiting a few more minutes. We should get some more people here. Anybody have any great service things that have happened recently with themselves individually, or as a family, or with the community group you're helping with? I know my son is in the presidency at his high school of the Just Serve Club, and they on Friday made a bunch of blankets. And so I was really glad that they these kids do some really great things. I needed to get more details. I knew what was happening, but I haven't talked to them. I was out of town on Friday and Saturday, so, but I know that they were making blankets.
We every other Wednesday, so it'd be this Wednesday, the 7th and 8th graders help with our one of our church's Paschal food bank, handing out food.
Wonderful. That's so good. I love that. Okay, well, I think people will start to filter in, but we want to honor your time and we're going to get started. Thank you, everybody who is here. I'm so glad you're here, and we are grateful to be part of this great listening campaign. I'm going to put on some inspirational music. I want you to take a minute. Some of you have already done this, but if you'll put in the chat your name, where you're from, and the organization you represent, that would be wonderful. Scott, can you also maybe tell me, do we need email, or is it just okay if they put that information in?
I think that's fine, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So if everybody will do this and you can get some inspiration, get in the mood, since we're talking about 250 years of America and the great country we live in and how we can, a new era of youth service. So I'm going to share my screen and put on a little inspirational music for us while you do that and get us in the mood. Just a second. Slideshow. I'm going to fast forward it because just give you a little, here we go.
I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, where the flag still stands for freedom and they can't take that.
Are you guys hearing it? Did I push this? You're hearing it? Okay, good. We'll listen for 30 more seconds.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt love as love is. God bless the USA. God bless the USA.
Okay, we're going to stop it there. I just was thinking of all of you that are willing to come on a Sunday evening and come to a listening forum that talks about how to help our nation and these youth, and to help to be an inspiration and to do some good. So thank you for doing that. Get us in the mood. Okay, well, I wanted to read this little statement, or this big statement. It's a powerful statement about what Youth Service America is. And I'm going to talk just for a minute, and then I'll turn it over to Scott to share more details. Youth Service America, young people, communities, and democracy thrive when all young people are connected to and contribute to their communities. We're on a mission to make working together for the common good, the common expectation and common experience of every young person in America. So I'm going to change screens for just a second. And I want to show you, because it was powerful to me to look at this page. So I want to show you the Youth Service America page and where you can find information about this organization, because some of the people I talked to were not familiar with it. So this is Youth Service America, the webpage. And if you look at it, you can see that it's ysa.org/new era dash. And if you click right here on the new era of youth service, that's this one. And I'm going to read this. It's a little bit long, but I really loved this. Oh, let me add these people just a second. Okay. Here we go. I meant to make my co-host just a second. Just in case anyone's wondering, I am not professional. So you have to be patient with my, okay. Here we go. I'm going to make her my co-host. And there we go. Okay. Okay, so maybe you've read this on your own while you were waiting for me, but this is a powerful statement. As Youth Service America looks forward to America's semi-quincentennial in 2026. We know that only 1 in 4 young people regularly participate in their communities. That means 64 million young Americans are left out of participating in our democracy. This is especially true for young people from low-income families and neighborhoods, young people of color, and young people who are often served but not usually asked to serve. To ensure Sorry, I'm multitasking, letting more people in. To ensure that we are adding maximum value to the thousands of organizations that already engage youth in service, including K-12 schools, college, universities, after-school programs, faith-based groups, issue-focused organizations, youth development groups, and so many more, YSA is embarking on a listening tour to inform our strategic program direction, along with the assets and resources that we provide to equip organizations to engage more youth in service. Over the next 9 months, YSA will engage with hundreds of organizations at the local, state, and national levels to assess how we can help remove barriers, provide critical resources, and elevate successful strategies. These consultations will inform the new era of youth service in America national strategy that we will launch in July of 2026 in celebration of America 250 and YSA's 40th anniversary in November of 2026. So this is the phases. I'll show you that in just a minute, but these are the 3 things, and this is what I hope that each of you will do. First of all, that you'll add to the youth service wish wall. We'll be doing that a little bit in our chat today. Or you can also add it to the YSA one directly. The second is complete a community partner survey by the end of January. And the third, which you're already doing, woohoo, is participate in a statewide partner forum. So if you look at this map, these forums are being held throughout all 50 states. And if we click on it, our little state of Washington, this is the forum that you're being part of right now. And so they're hosted by all different service organizations throughout the nation. Ours just happens to be hosted by Just Serve because I was on their contact list. We have received grants from them in the past, and so they reached out and asked me to help host this. So I think it's just really interesting to see where these forums are happening and that we're part of something really great. So let me go back, and we'll go back to our PowerPoint now. Okay, so here we go. They did this September through November. This is what's happening right now, December through February, then the national partners, and then the launch. So with that said, we're going to turn the time over. We have Scott Gansky here, the Vice President of Youth Service America, and he's going to talk to us about the current state of youth and he's going to talk about the current state of youth service in America and give us some of those statistics. Okay, Scott.
Thank you so much, Tammy. And I absolutely loved your intro. I think it's so nice that you were able to break everything down for us. Thank you all so much. We're really grateful for all of you, as she mentioned, to be here on a Sunday. I'm in the DC area, so we're a little later. It's 7 p.m. here, and we have a very rare snowstorm that we're dealing with, which is interesting for you all can handle it. It's kind of hard for us out here. But yeah, as you mentioned, really grateful to our Washington partners, really the youth leaders that are all across the state, and of course, you know, the community organizations that help make that possible. I've been at YSA. This is my 15th year. Youth Service America has been around for actually almost 40 years. And we are one of that original group that helped start AmeriCorps. So we've been around for a while, and we've always been looking at data. But one of the things that we started to do a few years ago, and that's why I appreciate the intro here, is that we started looking at a lot of the data. I used to run Learn and Serve Texas when we had Learn and Serve America about 14, 15 years ago. And we were able to go into schools, and we were able to have about $40 million across the country that would get spread out. And you'd have service learning coordinators, and you would have all these different things. And we started looking at the data, and we realized that, wow, like numbers have been not only really stagnant, But as Tammy mentioned, really it's that 1 in 4 young people are regularly participating in service or in civic life. And that number has been pretty stagnant over the years, which is concerning, at so many levels. You'll see the same number of youth that vote, typically same number of youth, 1 in 4, same number of youth that are in after-school programs, a lot of correlation analysis in that too. But really, one of the things that we try to look at is that, too many young people, especially those most impacted by community challenges, are still left out. A lot of times it's the same students that are a part of maybe a student council or part of some sort of a leadership. They're able to volunteer where some students are left out. And part of it is, how do we build a community where those other 3 out of 4, right, feel the opportunities
There we go.
and they have access to be able to volunteer. And so what YSA has been doing is, as part of this America 250, is listening. We started listening to a lot of smaller organizations and nonprofits across the country. And then as part of MLK Day of Service, this is part of this grant, obviously, that you're a part of. We've been doing all these listening sessions. So we kind of split them up, but I think this is like my 23rd that I've been on. And I absolutely love listening in, hearing the conversations, just hearing what your ideas are, because nobody knows your state better than you. Nobody knows your community better than you. And so for us at YSA, our goal is to lift you up, to provide you grants, to provide you resources, anything that can help make that the chart she's showing up there, get those 3 out of 4 students, to give them those opportunities to be able to have, be part of a community service project, to be part of a meaningful beginning to end service learning experience, to eventually vote and to eventually be part of leadership. And the goal is really, right, when they volunteer and as a youth, is to volunteer into adulthood. And that's why it's people like you joining on a Sunday like this. You're the type of leaders that we look to for thought leadership in all of this. So we know that obviously you're all helping at the state level. We know that there are many barriers and opportunities and ideas that you can discuss, and that's what the whole conversation is today. And then the reason we linked it to Dr. King is that he really challenged us to start connecting service with justice, with dignity, and with shared responsibility. And so this day, or I guess in the past week here of MLK Day, really reminds us that service, it's just something that young people, not just something that young people do, but it's something that helps shape their communities. So we just want to thank you all. Thank you for showing up, for bringing youth voice into the room, and for honestly just being willing to think boldly. We're just really excited to see what comes out of this conversation. And I'm going to be listening in most of the time. I have a 3 and a 6-year-old that need to go to bed soon, since it's 7 o'clock. But I will be listening in. I'm going to be taking notes and try to be as engaging as I possibly can. But just super grateful to all of you, and grateful to let us be a part of this super meaningful conversation.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. Okay. Thanks for all that you do to help lead and help our youth. Just on a side note, Youth Service America, my family has been blessed multiple times from Youth Service America. About 10 years ago, 11 years ago, my oldest son was trying to find a platform. He was doing really well in school, wanted to find a service platform, and he came across a grant opportunity and won a $1,000 grant. And he started a fitness club, a jump rope club, and had over 100 kids and trained high schoolers to help teach the young kids how to jump. And then we put on a big performance. And it was so wonderful that my next son then won the grant, and he did a big reading club, and he did it. Then we moved to Washington, and my next son did it, and he did a big food drive and built shelves in the food pantry. And then my next daughter. So my family's had lots and lots of blessings from Youth Service America, and helping them to find platforms to do good and have finances to do it. So thank you.
Tammy, I think we might need to interview you at some point about how, from that parent perspective, what does that look like to
Yeah.
empower?
Oh, it's been so good.
encourage?
My daughter actually is one too, and she helped fund our first Global Youth Service Day. So
Wow.
yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah. So
incredible. That's
my
so
youngest son, I have one son left, so we'll see if he joins in and tries to help. So
That's great.
anyway, I wanted to go back a few slides. So here we go. We're going to just look at these because I think these slides are things that we know, but they're also things that are so powerful. So I loved this one. Let me get rid of my bar so I can see better. There we go. Okay, individuals who immerse themselves in the community-based activities are more likely to experience stronger feelings of social belonging and develop trusting relationships with fellow community members. Higher levels of social connection are associated with increased levels of civic engagement and more representative government. There's a virtuous cycle between social connection and volunteerism or service. Those who are more connected to communities are more likely to engage in service, and those who are engaged in service are more likely to feel connected to, and it's not showing on my screen, their communities. I looked up the virtuous cycle because I knew what it meant, but I just wanted, and it's a cycle of goodness that propels itself. So I feel employed, I feel inspired to help my community, and then I feel part of the community, and then I see more needs, and it's just this beautiful cycle that we become better citizens, better people when we volunteer. And so that's why it's so concerning when we look at these the numbers that 3 out of 4 youth are not participating in any service. And I wanted to look at this. When young people participate, it creates a sense of belonging. It helps them feel like they matter. It gives them meaning and purpose, and it brings hope. And I can't think of a better thing for our young people nowadays than to feel like they belong, that what they do matters, that it gives them meaning and purpose to their life, and that they have hope for the future. Because there's plenty of stuff going on in our world right now that we can see a lack of those things. So service for my family and for the youth that I help with, it is the greatest antidote, I would feel like, is serving your fellow men and helping. It makes you feel like it brings all those great things. So these are also some slides I can send you. If you put an email in the chat, I will send you these slides and you can look more at these, but these are some really powerful slides. So the current state, we looked at this slide already, that 3 out of 4 youth are left out and are not feeling like they, in all of these areas, community service, service learning, voting, civic and engagement, and joining in leadership. So then we go to this next one. And these are the barriers. And right after this, we're going to have a discussion. We're going to have 5 slides of discussion. And I'll tell you in just a minute there's a fun thing at the end. But these are barriers to youth participation. 1 is lack of opportunity. 2, lack of knowledge. In fact, I reached out to some youth and asked what were some barriers. And they said sometimes they just don't even know where to serve. They don't know what is available. And I think a lot of us are involved in that process of trying to make that more available. 3, lack of equitable resources, and 4, lack of hope and connection. Like, will it even make a difference? So this is our first, actually, these are some results of the surveys that have been sent in. And they say that the number 1 is lack of knowledge. And then right after that is lack of resources. Oh, actually, well, I'm reading it wrong, but I think most important is lack of equitable resources. They feel like that's the biggest barrier to that. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. These are barriers. This can trigger your brain. Lack of funding or resources, lack of transportation, lack of student or youth time. I know a lot of the youth that I know just don't have very much time. And so they feel like, how do I fit one more thing in? Lack of staff to organize. They're apathetic, disconnected, or disengaged. That's the young people that I talked to. They said they just didn't have a desire. Some of their friends didn't have any desire to come. Lack of community partnerships. Again, lack of time, they're apathetic. So you can go down that list. So this is the discussion one. And to make this a little more fun, there's 5 discussions. If you participate or add something in the chat to each of these discussions, I will send you a really cool Just Serve shirt. You can have a long sleeved one or a glow in the dark one. So everybody put in something, a barrier that you think stops youth from serving. Oops, sorry about that. Let me put that back on. And I got rid of my menu bar, so I can't even see your chats, but my sweet friend Kristen is helping with those. So hopefully they're going well. Okay, anybody willing to just say out loud rather than just in the chat some barriers that you have found that make it hard for youth to participate? I'll start.
willing.
Oh, yes, Scott.
I'll share for you.
Oh, perfect. Amy, yes.
Yeah. So as someone who often is the one looking for volunteers, and people coming to me wanting to know how they can volunteer with our organization, we have limited options, and I know many organizations do, of what a youth can volunteer to do because of HIPAA violations, all kinds of stuff, and different things. So I think that's one of the biggest barriers that I try to work on also, to being able to offer up opportunities to volunteer is can that youth and that age do the thing?
Oh yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. I'm not sure how to solve that. So that's a good topic of discussion. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I do have a question. This is Tammy.
Okay.
I am wondering if we're talking about YSA 18 and above, right? We're not talking about like high school kids. Like it's kind of a
This is
different
YSA is Youth Service America. So I know it has other meanings, but we're talking kids 12 to 20 or 14 to 25.
Okay.
Yep, 14 to 25. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was going to say that they're really busy, especially the ones that are in high school, that age. They're really busy and they have schoolwork, and some are working. They I think they just don't have time.
I think that is a big challenge, Diane. I know that my children and the youth that I work with, it's always just such a juggle to be able to fit in and to do one more thing. Okay. Keep pondering that. Some of these questions will sound a little repetitive, but they are different angles and will hopefully help you to think of different things. These are some of the closing opportunities and participation gaps. So one, youth, how do we get more youth from low-income families and neighborhoods? 2, young people of color, Black, Hispanic, Asian, and Indigenous. 3, youth not usually asked to serve, youth with disabilities who are homeless, who are in foster care systems, who are in the juvenile justice systems, who are immigrants or refugees, who are English language learners, who are LGBTQ+, and who are in military families, or rural youth that maybe don't live or have as much access. So, those are the youth that we have found the biggest gap, that are not serving as much. So here's our second discussion question. When you think about young people in your community who face the most obstacles to participation, what would you do to make it easier for them to participate? So stick in the chat or open your mics. I'd love to hear. What obstacles? Oops.
Hi, Tammy. This is
Hi.
Becky Burton here.
Yes, thank
I
you.
think a lot of it is a know-how or having resources. And I think one of the solutions would be is to have a mentor. My husband participated in the Big Brother program in Utah and really helped get he had a few boys that he mentored as a big brother, and he would take them along to service activities and get them exposed and gaining some confidence in that way. And I think that they need mentors. You know, they need help in getting there. I probably don't know how.
I 100% agree. My family, like I said, has been really blessed by Youth Service America and also Just Serve. And part of that's because I have 6 children and one brother taught the next brother, taught the next brother. And then they shared it with friends, and a mentor can be such a powerful thing. Thank you, Becky. So that role of mentorship.
I wanted to say something about rural youth. I grew up in a really, really small town in Alaska.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times the youth in smaller areas actually have a lot of skills. Most of the youth that I grew up with knew how to do a lot of things, big adult jobs. And it was really getting them to understand how to use that skill and spread it out to the community. And I think when you start tying in your livelihood or how your neighbors need you, putting a need into it, it really does motivate kids who already have those skills. So my thought is, well, my original thought was to provide some sort of transportation support, but also to help them think of ideas of how the skills that they're already developing could be applied in a service area.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's a great comment. Okay. Thank you. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Hi, Brian.
Hi, Brian.
I was thinking, how many youth are sitting on a couch right now thinking to themselves, man, I wish I could go do some community service. But is that even part of the culture anymore? We talk about people that aren't expected to give back. So yeah, joining a club, joining an organization, and there's barriers to doing that. And that helps organization, get them involved in something that's already pre-planned. They can just show up and help. But I'm just wondering, chewing in my brain, like, how do we start at that ground floor of there's a need out there? And it doesn't matter who you are, you've got something to offer. And just because you live in our free country, you have an obligation to look outside yourself every once in a while and help someone else. And you don't have to do an Eagle Scout service project. You can go help your mom with the dishes. Service is not these grand gestures. It's, a lifestyle of caring about other people and talking to somebody that's lonely at school. And you can be of service in so many ways. So how do we expand the conversation to more than just, hey, we've got to get them to join a club that's going to do a big project?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a mentality, isn't it? Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that.
I was wondering about getting into schools and getting those assemblies, to teach children, teach kids, teach our young adults the importance of serving others. They've actually done a lot of studies, and serving strangers actually helps kids more than serving, and they need to learn how to serve their own families, don't get me wrong. But for mental, emotional, physical, all kinds of help with these kids, serving strangers is huge for these youth. And it would be fun to be able to teach those kids that, and then encourage them to serve, or encourage them to look at their clubs at their schools. And then even going through maybe your boys and girls clubs and some of these things that sometimes help our most disadvantaged youth. I wonder if that would be a way that we could get to those kids that have more barriers, because sometimes when you live in an environment of have-nots, it's harder for you to think that you can serve. And yet that is an incredibly powerful thing for those kids in that have-not area, is for them to be able to serve.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate that. Okay. So envisioning a new era of youth service in America. And that's really what the goal is to get more youth involved. I think we all want America to stay great and to be wonderful. And this next generation, we want all the best things from them. So what does that look like? I was going to play this, but I think we've had enough examples and I won't take your time. But this was a story of a young man who his mother lost the baby when the baby was being born. He was just a young man and he was so sad and he didn't know how to cope with his grief. And so he started blankets for my buddies and started making blankets and bringing them to kids to help them to feel better. And I know that I help oversee Just Serve student clubs in the Tri-Cities area. And these youth see a need and they plan it and they organize and gather others and then they do good. And I just think there's so much power in that. So so this goes to our second item. There's 5 discussions and 3 items. So 1 you're already doing by participating in this forum. This is the second one, a wish wall. And you can either do it on the Youth Service America page or you can just add it to the chat. What is your wish for the future of youth service in America? What would it take to double the number of youth engaged in volunteering and service, voting and civic engagement, and or joining and leadership in your community in the next 10 years? What do you want the youth service field to look like in 2036? So I would invite you to put on your wish wall, like if you have a magic wand and say 2036, this is what it would look like. For me personally, it would be that my grandchildren would be engaged in the community and serving and helping. And 2036, that seems like a long time away, but I guess I won't even have very old grandkids by then. But I hope that my own children are seeing what is a need in my community and how can I fill that? And that we're engaged in this youth service together. So if you'll add to the wish wall, what does your wish look like in 10 years for youth engagement? Or I don't know exactly, it doesn't have to be exactly 10 years, but what would it look like? Another one of my wishes is I help oversee these Just Serve student clubs. Currently, we have 11 student clubs in the Tri-Cities area. My hope is that every high school and every youth that wants to be involved in a Just Serve club can join. That would be an easy one because that's what I serve with. But what are some of the wishes that you guys would like? And that our clubs represent our communities. We'll talk about that in just a second. Anybody have any wishes they want to say out loud? I see a few chats starting to come in. Oh, wouldn't that be so awesome? I saw that the youth are the largest group of voters. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing? Yeah, having service clubs in the schools, yes, that's wonderful. They're engaged in their communities and they feel welcome and part of the communities. Thank you. Those are such good things. Okay. So add those wishes to the wish wall. Keep adding. We'll keep going. So discussion, let's see, did I skip one? No, here we go. If you could expand or add 1 or 2 supports to your community or organization or community to provide more youth participation opportunities and reach more youth, what would it be and why? So that's the same one. That's adding to the wish wall. So keep going. Here we go. Here's exploring strategies to double youth participation. That's the Youth Service America goal. And I think it's probably all of our goal. How do we get more youth involved? Their outrageous outcome is to double. Really, ours would just be to have it continue to grow. We want all youth to be part of serving in their community and to feel all the good things that comes from that and just how much it would help. Okay, so these are some ideas of how to do it. Opportunity and activation. Ask all youth to participate and personally connect them to opportunities. Number 2, training and skill building. Teach youth the knowledge and skills necessary to participate. 3, have equitable funding and resources. Close the civic equity gap by increasing access to resources needed to participate. And recognition and storytelling, inspire and connect youth to the people, organizations, and systems that help them make a difference. So, okay, this time I'm not going to have you, well, I'll tell you about that in just a second. Hopefully you're thinking about these because another discussion question is coming. Anyone have, well, I guess I'll open the mic first. I mean, if you have any thoughts, any of these hit you of which ones really would benefit your organization or the youth that you know? What of these would really help? Opportunity and activation, training and skill building, equitable funding and resources, or learning more of the stories and having more recognition for the good they're doing. Any thoughts?
I have a thought I would like to share. I think, so I graduated from high school in 2021, so I'm still pretty close in age to the target demographic. But I think connecting youth to service opportunities is a huge help. When I was a junior in high school, I had a psychology teacher. I was doing Running Start at CBC, the community college here, and so I had a psychology teacher who was an amazing professor, and she had talked to us about this local nonprofit that she works at outside of her time teaching. And anyways, I was just looking for things to put on my college application. And so I talked to her after class one day, and she told me, she was like, well, if you want to come in to my friend's place, which is the name of her nonprofit, she was like, you can totally come in after school and I'll give you opportunities to volunteer so you can learn more about it and get service hours in and stuff. And so I started going and volunteering at my friend's place, which is basically like a local shelter that houses teens in the community. And so I started volunteering there like once a week. It was on Fridays. And at first I just went in there and I started doing things like organizing their pantry or like cleaning up the kitchen, just doing things like that. And then the more that I was there, just like around the scene, just volunteering and stuff, I started to meet the kids who are living there, and they became more familiar with my presence in the shelter, and I started becoming friends with a lot of the random youth who were coming in and out and staying there. And it was just such an interesting experience for me because I started to make real connections with these kids, and I came to understand that we're way more similar than we are different, but they have just been dealt different cards in their lives. And it was just really eye-opening for me to see that these kids were coming from different backgrounds and family situations and had gone through some really hard things, but we were all so similar. And so I learned a lot from my time volunteering there. And so it's very impactful for youth to get involved in these volunteer opportunities in the community, but sometimes they just need a connection. And so I think the connecting youth to these opportunities is what we can do.
Thank you, Julia. I really appreciate that. She's our Miss Tri-Cities and her platform is youth service. So it's so nice to have her join us. Thank you. Okay, and in case I forget at the end, if you joined after I said, will you please put your name and where you live in Washington and what your organization is, because we want to make sure we have a record of this. So if you didn't do that yet, make sure you do that. Okay, thank you so much. We're going to go to the next one. I was going to have you do the survey right now, but I would encourage you to do that on your own. My husband said it's too technical to try to split your screen. But if you go to the Youth Service America website and you just click on New Era of Youth Service, it has those 3 items that we talked about: the wish wall, the survey, and then the forum, which you're being a part of right now. So here we go. These are some results from the survey. We aren't going to spend a lot of time on these, but I wanted to show you These are some of the results of the survey that have been done throughout the United States so far. The number one thing is they feel like access to partnership with community groups or nonprofits. These are things that they need more help with. And also special recognition awards and honors for students who participate. So these are some things that could be really helpful to having youth serve more. Here's some more. Organizations use a variety of support programs. They are used by about a third of the organizations, with only 1% offering no support. So again, that one is a little, there's just a lot of things. These are supports that organizations need. This is part of the survey. You can select 4 strategic things that would be most useful to help addressing the lack of opportunities. So more national days of service, more youth-friendly volunteer opportunity databases and volunteer management practices, database map directory of organizations, integration into school mission, youth development organizations, call to service by celebrities, payments, stipends, incentives, scholarships, more formal opportunities for youth voice and leadership, and more opportunities for youth engagement around elections, and support for youth who are already involved. So kind of a mentor like we talked about earlier. Again, this is the results of the survey so far. More youth thought that if there was more payments, stipends, and incentives, that would help. And then integration into the school mission. I talked to a friend of mine who's from Hawaii. In the state of Hawaii, they have mandated service. So she said their schools have many service organizations and lots of service opportunities because it's a mandated thing. And I don't know the best scenario, but that is one motivation for youth to get more involved in service. These are 4 training professional development strategies you think would be helpful. So we won't go all of that, but if you take the survey, this is what it will look like. And then here's the results of that. They feel the survey currently said if there was more training or professional development for staff, that would be, I'm juggling. I need split screens for this. And just more opportunities. I think you talked about this earlier. I can't remember what her name was, but you said that you have lots of opportunities for service, but just not a lot that youth can do. So I think that's a common. And then 4 funding resource strategies that you would think would be most effective or useful. So those are some more, and here's the results of the survey. We won't go through that. And then 4 recognition, storytelling, or public awareness strategies. And I do think there's power in recognizing even that it is good, and we want youth to be active, involved. And I also think storytelling has a powerful resource. And there's the results for that. So then here is our 4th question. We're getting close to the end. What training, funding, funding, resourcing, and recognition storytelling strategies can YSA or other national organizations provide that would be most helpful to you or to the youth you know? What resources could be used? So if you'll put that in the chat, or if somebody will say in the mic, we'd love to know what resources would be helpful. Oh, if everybody invited a friend, I would love that. That would double it, wouldn't it? I know my daughter last year was in our Just Serve Club at Richland, and she is a gatherer by nature. And so she would go into her, at the end of, right before the lunch service project, she would announce to her whole government class, come join, it's going to be so fun. And then she would run to the next class and invite people. And those were the busiest, most well-attended activities because it took a voice saying, please come in and join. And I do think there's a lot of power in that. A list of ways to get donations and funds to help with big projects. I do agree with that. That would be very helpful. Grants and service opportunities. Okay. Keep thinking, because this is the listening tour. This is why we're doing this. This is the last part, or actually developing state and policy agenda. We're just going to not spend much time with this. This is a website you can go to that will show what policies are in the state of Washington. Again, if you want these slides sent to you, you can put your email in the chat. These are some ideas. I will mostly I'm just going to talk about a couple of them. And you can look through the list yourself. Graduation requirements. Some high schools do have graduation requirements, recognition programs, teacher training, state government funded grant programs. A couple of my boys participated with Rotary and some of those American Legion, and those were just powerful opportunities. They went to Boise State and loved that. Supporting new voter registration, creating statewide governor legislative. That's part of Girls State and Boys State. They have those opportunities and they're powerful. Okay, so this is our discussing the big, again, let me move this screen. Discussing some big questions. This will be our last part. This is our discussion. Should we advocate for more service requirements in school? Are national or local service days of service effective for your organization? Do they help reach new youth volunteers? How can we better reach and support parents to help them connect their children with service opportunities and make serving as a family a priority? So can you guys put those in the chat? I would love that. How can we, these big questions, what can we do? How can we advocate for more service? Are the national and local days helpful? And how can we better reach and support families in connecting to service? Anybody have any thoughts?
I just had a question. This is
Yes.
CJ.
Hi, CJ.
I'm just curious, Scott, I don't know, I know that you've attended several of these, it sounds like, and one of the things, particularly at work, I see it, there's just a strong Latino community and even penetrating in there to get folks to participate in health activities to improve their health is a challenge. What have you heard or seen from others of ways to get in some of those communities that, you know, I'm not naturally part of, just for who I am and in my circle of influence. So just didn't know if you had any thoughts.
Do you mean specifically health projects, or are you just saying in general?
Just in general, what have you heard or seen if people been successful trying to integrate?
Honestly, because earlier almost everybody said transportation is one of the issues that are holding people back. I'm from the 30 or so calls that I've been, listening sessions that I've been on, that has been the number one thing, has been transportation as an issue. And I think honestly, what we learned from COVID is that projects that are low hanging fruit, like awareness or advocacy, can be extremely powerful and they don't cost a penny. And I think the more programs that are creating accessible opportunities that are easy to do without, they're meaningful, but they don't require you to have to get on a bus or to have to, get a ride there, are super meaningful. And when we can get schools to be able to have students like fourth graders write persuasive letters to an elected official about something they care about, or if it's advocating for a certain policy, and then having the conversation with them. I think that's super helpful. But most of the programs that we see, they have barriers like transportation or things like that that make it challenging. I think sometimes the way that the events are, it's not intentional, but the way that the events are designed, unfortunately, has elements to it that eliminate certain people because of financial reasons or things like that. So being able to have it and of course, some students don't have computers, but being able to have access points where they can do something that's small that turns into something much bigger. It doesn't have to be a really long event, but I think what we're finding a lot is just the low hanging fruit that's there. I know even earlier someone said helping to teach a sibling or helping with your family. That has changed since COVID. We've kind of started changing the way we used to not count that as volunteerism, but Now we're starting to look at things different as different on-ramps to service. But I love your question because the truth is, it's a challenge we face every day. But I think a lot of it has to do with this stopping point of we don't have the money, so we're not going to do it. We don't have the money to buy the supplies. Well, advocacy and awareness are almost always free and low cost. And so I've been working really hard to create toolkits of zero, no cost projects. And so that will be out soon, probably by summertime, and I'll make sure to share it with you. But CJ, that's a great question. Does that answer a little bit of what you were saying, or are you looking for something more specific?
Yeah, no, it the difficulty is, some of these lower income, because where I live, I live at this place, a more affluent place, and I don't integrate in. It's not that I wouldn't be willing, it's just I don't integrate with that group. And so how do we get the service minded focus? And I think the schools are kind of a level ground, right, where everybody's together at school, and it just promotes sharing of information. But even within schools, we have little cliques, et cetera. So I just was curious if you saw ways that gets into some of that, as you know.
And as Tammy mentioned earlier with your children, I mean, we do offer a lot of grants, mini grants that can help, work with students too. So I think that part of it, I'm seeing even as you wrote in the chat too, the community awards for families who volunteer and regular frequent. That's awesome. But I would say, grant opportunities. Schools have gone, unfortunately, more into project-based learning. We used to have service learning as such a central part of what schools did. I've been to Washington actually multiple times on service learning grants, but we're seeing the shift to stuff that is inside a room talking about scenario-based, not actual like change. So the schools have been a little more challenging to work with. Are you saying though that where you're located, are you saying that the projects that you help organize tend to be people like within a certain geographic area and you're just trying to expand? Is that kind of what you're looking at?
Yeah, and even socioeconomic kind of differences. That we have bilingual schools, and there's some schools that really cater to that bilingual environment, and how do we penetrate into those families? The desire and the ability to serve is just as valuable as what I heard somebody say, that they offer a lot despite their background or what they think they can't offer. But if they, getting into this environment outside of just the white Caucasian, for lack of a better word, and getting the opportunity out there to more disparate groups.
It's a great question. One of the things that I'll say though, from talking to different people that kind of surprised me, but I would say less than 5% of the projects that are taking place, like you said, where it's typically the same students, those 1 out of 4 that we're talking about that are volunteering, I would say less than 5% of the time for all the projects that we've done, and we fund thousands each year of projects, do those students actually have an adult facilitator or leader who ask those, let's 5 or 10 students that are always volunteering, how can you get other students to do it? It almost never happens. So part of it is even just bringing that group together to say, how can we get other people to volunteer outside of us? You'd be shocked what they come up with. And maybe you've already done that, but like, I don't see that very often. And even in our applications, when we ask it, we don't really get much of a response to that. Students are very creative in being able to get other peers involved in service projects, but the low-hanging fruit, having things that are low cost, that they don't necessarily, you want to get transportation funds to bus people in, but if there are little things that people can do to be a part of it, it's just that little step forward so you're not completely taking away all those barriers. But I think what you're saying is that, I think we also need more resources nationally, more transportation grants. But for you specifically, if you just find an area and you can reach out to them, have them talk to me, because the cool thing about YSA is if you apply for a grant, I can actually help you. Like, we're a very rare organization where we want you to get the grant. So if you have a group, CJ, you just say, hey, look, tell me what your barriers are. Call up, Scott will do a Zoom, I'll do a Zoom call with them, right? Come up with a Zoom call, they can come up with an idea, and we could think of ways to start listing how you can get those students that are traditionally not engaged in that meaningful project to do it. But I typically want to have some students involved in that conversation. So that's about all I can say for now, but I really appreciate the question.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Scott and CJ, good question. Anybody else have any? I saw some really great things in the chat. But anyone else want to share with the microphone?
Tammy, I've got something that I've been thinking about, and I don't know where this thought process is going, but I can't shake the feeling of it, so I'm just throwing it out there. When it comes to service and volunteering, I'm very adverse to the word requirement. It feels like it takes away a student's choice, a youth's choice, and I will always advocate for a teen or a youth to have the power to choose. And I don't know what that means. I mean, maybe it's just a tone change or a perspective change of, instead of making it a requirement to put on us as adult leaders or to put on to encourage the youth leaders, how do we persuade? How do we invite? How do we show that it is worth their time? But I'm finding myself very emotionally adverse to the word requirement with this topic, with the youth, because especially the youth that are struggling either with emotional concerns, mental concerns, social economic concerns, they're just trying to survive. And if we can empower them with a choice, that's going to go a long way, more than another requirement that they will shame themselves when they fail at that too. I'm finding myself adverse to the word requirement.
Thank you, Krista. That's powerful. I really like that. And ultimately, we don't want to force anyone. We want service. The beauty of service is when you choose to do it because you care about other people. And sometimes just getting people in that door. A quick story: last year, the group that I helped serve with, the Just Serve Clubs, we did for Global Youth Service Day, we helped with the Autism Awareness Fair. And so the kids went to the booths, and then at the end, they did the massive cleanup of this fair. And the year before, the ladies who were in charge said it took them all day and all night, and they were exhausted. But instead, these like 75 youth came in, and they were cleaning up trash and taking down tables and sweeping up hay. And I mean, it was a busy day in April, but these youth, it looked like they were having the biggest party of their lives. And nobody made them do it. They just chose to come and do it. And they were racing with chairs, seeing how fast they could put them away and sweep. There's such power when they choose to do it themselves. So thank you. Denise, love to hear from you.
Hi, so I kind of along with that thought, being on the school board and in the state of Washington, we used to have that service requirement for a long time as part of senior projects. And honestly, for our community, we're a pretty small community in terms of businesses and things like that. We have very little businesses in our area, in our school district. And our community had actually approached us and said, the community group, like the city group, I can't even think of the chamber, is saying it was really almost like a burden on the community to try to, when it is a requirement. So I guess that would be my input as well, is I think advocating for a service requirement in the schools. I don't know that's for us, that just wouldn't be the way to go. Okay,
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming and representing schools. We appreciate that. Anybody else? Okay. Well, that brings us to the end. This is a new era of youth service in America. I really encourage you to go fill out the survey so that your voice can be heard. Your voices, thank you for sharing in the chat today. I know that it's time and it's probably not the most exciting thing you could do, but I think that it shows that you care about our youth and you care about our communities and about our country, that you're willing to help share voice so that more opportunities for service and for youth development can happen. Scott, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to say this has been amazing. The conversations, like what Krista just said about service requirements, I've been spending a lot of time on that. I know we're shifting a lot more towards civic seals across the country. Julia's comment was just amazing. I just like, and then the questions obviously that CJ asked, very thought-provoking, high-level conversation. Great things are happening in Washington, and I also just wanted to thank you for just doing such a beautiful job of facilitating this. It has just been an honor to be a part of this, and we take this very seriously at YSA. The results of this listening tour, we are going to be looking at all the data, all the common words, everything that, all the different patterns that come up. And our goal is to be able to work with all our national partners, hopefully funders, right, to be able to get the money out to you, to get the programs and the resources out to you. That's always been our model for the past 40 years. This has just been incredible, and I just want to thank you all, especially for showing up on a Sunday. It really means the world to us, and we're just grateful to each and every one of you.
Thank you, Scott. So last reminder, put your name, your where you live and your organization, and go to that Youth Service America page and take the survey. Thank you so much. Oh, we need to announce our winners. Kristen, do you have winners by chance? And if we get their email, I will get their contact and mail you either a long sleeve Just Serve shirt or a glow in the dark. You can choose.
Yes, I do. Thanks
Okay,
for
perfect.
asking. I've been keeping track of some notes and stats here, and we have a couple of winners, and one is Gail Norton. So if you will send me, you can send a private message in the chat if you want to make sure I have your address. And the other, Julia Henry. Thank Julia. If you'll send me a message, that would be awesome.
Thank you so much. Tell me if you want a glow in the dark or a long sleeve Just Serve shirt and the size. Okay, thanks you guys. You're awesome. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
That was great, Tammy.
Oh, thank you, Kristen. Thanks for your help.
How many did it say total? Was it 36?
I don't think it was that many, but people were in and out, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Amy, thank you for your help. Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you. That was great. Really awesome. So let me just get a couple of these last things from the chat.
Perfect.
And yes, it was very, very good. Really great information. And I will send you the information that I took down. I tried to keep up with everything, but you might have to go back and see which question they were answering if you're
Okay.
not quite sure.
Okay. Are you getting the addresses of Gail and Julia?
I hope so.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Well done. You did a fantastic job, Tammy. So
Oh.
thank you for doing that so well and so professionally. And the people that came were great. And I was just thrilled for you. I think it all went well.
Thank you so much, Amy. You're amazing. Thank you.
Hey, you had a good variety on there.
Good. I didn't look at the chat as much because I was thinking I should have hooked up another screen because it was a little tricky to try to juggle the two screens, obviously, but you know, that's okay.
Okay.